Game 1 tomorrow night in Big D. It's the Peter DeBoer Spring Invitational. Dallas's coach has been to the Western Conference Final 5 of the last 6 years. Let's hear from one of his best weapons, Jason Robertson.
I haven't won a Game 1 in my career, so it's been, I don't know, 7 8 series, but I thought we had a chance last series to go up in Game 1. We played really well, and then obviously blew that, so definitely want to, keep that same approach as we did Colorado, get on a good start, try to take the game over and not blow it away. So hopefully we get that done tomorrow against a really good team.
Through the playoffs, every team that has success is good defensively, and we have to be a tight checking team and limit our chances that we give up. And we know as a team there'll be mistakes and there will be chances, and the other team has some really good players that they'll make some plays. But we cannot get away from playing a tight checking game and limiting the other team's chances that they get.
There's only 4 teams left now, and everyone's here for a reason. They're all great teams and know how to win games. So it just gets tougher and tougher, and we're going to have to bring our A game.
I'm a big Robo fan. Hearing him talk as you look at the head-to-head statistics from these two teams in the regular season, hearing Robertson, David Robinson played in Texas for the Spurs. Totally different. The Stars, it's Jason Robertson. His brother plays for the Leafs. He said in his career, not winning a Game 1. We always hear, EJ, start on time. Quintessential example of that would be winning Game 1 of a series.
Yes, at home.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The first round, they lost the first 2 to Vegas and then stormed their way back.
Well, they're making progress.
Yes.
They lost the first 2 to Vegas, and then they won the series. They lost the first one to Colorado, and then got back on track. So, yeah, maybe they've learned a little bit of a lesson. I don't think you want to fool with the Edmonton Oilers and play with fire here. The Oilers, they've earned the right to be here, and this is a team that was in the conference final, many of these players, just 2 years ago. This is a dangerous opponent.
I agree. And we saw Chris Knobloch, the head coach there, did a wonderful job in this series against Rick Tocchet and those Vancouver Canucks. Defensively, and Stuart Skinner had his problems, but he bounced back. Jake Ottinger's had some problems in this playoffs, a couple of games that I think he'd like to have back. But when I look at this Edmonton Oilers team and the penalty killing, we talked about it earlier, he's not just using Draisaitl and Hyman. He's got Fogle out there killing penalties, and he's got Ryan out there killing penalties, and Janmark, and Kulak, and Desharnais on the back end. So it makes you feel more a part of the team, and everyone kind of pulling in that same direction. I like what Edmonton did. I don't think they stand much of a chance against the Stars. If they're going to win it, it's going to be at their power play, because during the regular season it was unstoppable, and during the postseason it's been pretty darn good too. So see the power play at almost 38%.
Yeah.
Not too shabby.
Yeah, they're number 1 in the playoffs in power play and penalty killing. Now, some will say they played LA and Vancouver. Maybe not the quality of opponents, let's say the Dallas Stars play in Vegas and Colorado, the last 2 Stanley Cup champions. But nonetheless, they sit there with really strong special teams. They've done a really nice job protecting, I think, their goalies, both Pickard and Skinner, in this last round, because they've been really checking and playing good defensive hockey and not allowing a lot of shots. It'll be different, I think, against Dallas, but let's give the Edmonton Oilers credit for how they're working hard defensively and checking, and forwards are getting back into it and doing a lot of little things to help you win.
And Peter DeBoer said in talking about this opponent, Edmonton has the best player in the world. Based on the Ted Lindsay, his peers feel that way too. Number 97, Connor McDavid. He didn't have to put up huge numbers in the previous series in order for Edmonton to advance. What do you think of that?
Well, that's good news, right? For sure. And you could see the minutes kind of came down as the series went along. And I think that was a smart play by Knobloch. I just don't think you could just ride 2 guys through 4 rounds of playoffs. So they've changed that up. I agree with you, Steve. I think that Chris Knobloch has done a really good job for a guy in his first postseason in a high-stress environment there with the Edmonton Oilers, where there's a lot of pressure. I think he's done a terrific job keeping the temperature at an even keel and giving everybody roles. And, McDavid, I wonder, we talked about it a little bit. I think he's a little, like all the guys are dinged up, right? But I do think he is dealing with something, so we'll see how that unfolds in this next round against Dallas.
I think you're right. I think he did. I remember Carson Asusi cross-check that he received.
Yeah, I think we all remember that one.
And that might have left a lasting impression
Yeah.
on Connor McDavid. Getting back to Knobloch, you talked about, the fact that he sat Corey Perry.
That's a big decision,
Corey
isn't it?
Perry's played 1,300 games in the NHL, over 200 in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
He won a Conn Smythe, correct? I believe.
Well, he won a
Hart Trophy.
He won a Hart Trophy.
Didn't win a Conn Smythe.
He's won a Stanley Cup early in his career with Anaheim. He's been in several different Stanley Cup finals in his career. That's a big decision, Steve. You've been in those locker rooms. That makes an impact.
It is, but Corey Perry's the kind of guy, they're going to need him, especially in a series like against the Dallas Stars. So he's going to be on board, and he'll be all in when he does get the chance to play again. But it was a gutsy move. I like the timeout he took. After he got to 3-2, he took a timeout just to settle things down, and
no shots. No shots for Vancouver after that timeout. So it was helpful.
Yep.
Reminded me of a standing 8 count where a boxer kind of gets their bearings.
Yeah.
This time last year, Rupe Hintz was a absolute force. Last year, he was putting up big numbers. This year, health concerns. How imperative, Connie, is it for the Stars to get him back in order to win this series?
It's not, because I look at their depth. They're still a pretty deep team, even without Hintz. I mean, you still got Robertson, you've got Marchment, you've got Duchesne, and then how about Wyatt Johnson?
21 years old.
And what he's done, and then Logan Stankoven.
21 years old.
We haven't even talked about Stankoven, and right now on that number 1 line. So, Rupe Hintz would certainly help. He brings a lot. He brings some speed. He brings a little bit of toughness, too. He'll go to those tough areas. But when you got 3 top lines that can score, and then you look at the back end, and Harley and Heiskanen, we talk about Heiskanen a little bit. We haven't talked about Harley much. They've done a wonderful job with, seasoning some of these youngsters, whether it was Harley in the minors, Stankoven in the minors for 60 games. Jim Nill is from that Jimmy Devellano school of general managing. Of course, Jim Nill was in Detroit. Steve Yzerman was there. Pat Verbeek. They like to put guys in the minors for a little bit.
Overripe.
Overripen, and then when they come up, they burst on the scene like Stankoven has.
Yeah, and they are a deep team. You'd like to see them have Rupe Hintz back in the lineup if he's healthy. So we'll have to monitor that as they go along. I thought we're talking about coaches, too. I thought Pete DeBoer did a great job in that double overtime. For my money, that was the best game I watched all year. Colorado and Dallas.
It was amazing.
Back and forth in that elimination game, and the Stars were able to get things done in double overtime. But Pete DeBoer shuffled his lines a little bit in that game, and I think it made a difference. They could come at you from a variety of different places, and they get contributions from all kinds of parts of that roster up front. They've been playing heavy on those 5D. But they added Petrovic the other night, brought him up from the minors. He's an experienced. I had to look him up. I mean, he hasn't been in the league in a while. 32 years old. He's like 6'5". He gave them 16 minutes and 25 seconds in that game, that double overtime game. They had been playing their 5th defenseman, who had been Nils Lundqvist. They had been playing him like 3, 4, 5 minutes a game. So that's another nice add now, just to protect Ryan Suter a little bit and that defense core, because those guys have been terrific this year, but it's hard to go through 2 months with just 5 guys. So nice to have another guy they at least can put in there, and it's got good size.
I agree with you. That was an epic. The double OT game. That series was awesome to watch.